Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spokane Women in Film and Television's premiere of our film Where I Stand and its companion documentary, Behind the Lens. I just can't even tell you how excited I am to be here tonight with my co-creators and to be showing this film to the world, finally. Thank you all so much for joining us. We would like to acknowledge that our membership and our organization are mainly on the traditional lands of the Spokane, Kukanaha, Coeur d'Alene, Kalispel, Palouse, and Kootenai tribes, as well as spread across other native lands. We honor with gratitude the land and these people, past and present. And we are so honored to have you here with us tonight to be part of this. As many of you know, about 3 years ago. This whole process started, but we made the film about 2.5 years ago, and we had 39 professional filmmakers come on board to make this film. Then we had 19 amateurs who we put into job shadowing and helping in each department. And in one weekend, we made the short you're about to watch. And because this process was so much about not only making a film that we could be proud of, it was about showing women and mentoring women into positions of leadership in film, and showing everyone that we could do it just as well on our own, with or without anyone from another gender. Anyway, first of all, we'd like to show you the film Where I Stand. Immediately following that will be the documentary Behind the Lens. And following that, we have Nike Imoru with us and several panelists from our creative team. We'll do a live Q&A, so prepare your questions and we'll try and answer them. Enjoy the film.
Oh my God, the protest starts in half an hour and we still have to get there.
Jody, I wish you'd come.
You know you promised your mother you weren't going to protest, Elise.
I know, but I have to.
Oh, and one other thing, Megan. You must always walk on the outside of the crowd. That way, if trouble starts, you have a chance to get away from it.
Graham, you're awesome. Oh, Mother, you would think this is a good idea. If she gets hurt, it'll be your fault. You filled her head with talks of your protests since she was a little girl.
Mom, I'm doing this because I want to. Anyway, I think Graham's right. You have to stand up for what you believe in. You know, I wish you'd both come with me. Graham?
I guess not this time, Megan.
Well, if you decide to come, I'll wait until 10 o'clock in front of North by Northwest.
Lauren?
You know I've always hated all this, but you did it anyway, and now you have my daughter doing it. Protest this, march for that. Why?
Because a long time ago, I decided it's important to let people know where I stand.
Wow, that's deep, Mother.
Maybe it was just the 60s. Or
Other
maybe...
college students protested in the 60s and then stopped when they grew up. Why couldn't you?
When your father was killed in the accident, I was left with a 9-month-old baby. I had no job, no money.
I know all that.
But you don't know how I felt. I agonized because I couldn't even buy formula for you. And my landlord gave me an eviction notice.
You must have had life insurance or savings.
We were young. We thought we had plenty of time. This wasn't supposed to happen to us.
You made it.
Not without help. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid I might lose you.
That wouldn't have happened.
That's exactly what happened to a lot of young women back then, Lauren. There weren't a lot of options for a single woman with a child, widowed or not. Then that first Social Security survivor's check came in the mail. That money saved us. It made it possible for us to live until I found a job, then helped support us when I went back to college.
I didn't know that. But it still doesn't explain.
Once I was on my feet, I realized that protesters were fighting to protect those very rights that had saved us. and fighting social injustices and for women's rights and civil rights, things that just made sense to me. I vowed then to always stand up for what I believe in and what I think is right, and that's what I've done. And I'm sorry if you don't get me. And it breaks my heart to know that you find me somehow lacking as your mother.
Mother, all I want.
You want me to say, I'm sorry for dragging you to protests? You want me to feel guilt for the times I missed making you dinner because I was protesting?
No, that's not what I want.
Yes, Lauren, you do. But that's not what you're going to get from me. Because the good news is you have raised an amazing daughter who's willing to join me in standing up for what she believes in. So I'm not going to stand around here any longer trying to help you figure out my life. I'm going to join Megan.
They're starting!
Woman standing in the rain on a cold October day. In her hand she held a sign, it said there must be a better way. By her side her child asked, why do you do the things you do? Once you know I did it for me, now I'm doing it for you. So you will know where I stand. You will know who I am. You will know where I stand. If it all falls down, gray were the stones of the courthouse steps, and gray was the autumn sky. Gray were the faces of the passing people looking down as they walk by. Black and white was the news that morning in a world about to die. Red as blood was the sign above, and the child again asked why. So you will know where I stand. You will know where I stand. If it all falls down, where I stand. If it all falls down, know who I am. If it all falls down, know where I stand. If it all falls down.
I was on a film set and noticing half of the crew behind the scenes were women, and I thought, what would it be like if it were all women?
Decided that not only would we use it to empower women in their jobs in the film industry, but also to bring along amateurs who wanted to learn about those jobs. Maybe they don't know anything about that specific job, they're not necessarily students, but could be anyone in the community that just had an interest. We put out a call for writers, we put out a call for crew, we put out a call for actors. Everything was up for grabs. We wanted women to come out and say, I want to be a part of this. And so the same was true with the script.
I was really excited about the thought of empowering women by the all-woman cast and crew, and so I wrote a script that I thought would empower women. I marched in the Women's March in 2017, and it was probably one of the best experiences of my life, that I felt the camaraderie of women, and so that's what inspired me to write it.
We had some added elements of community involvement, like we had a sort of town hall meeting. The city of Spokane has been ridiculously supportive. So we got to use the city council chambers, and we had a general meeting for the public just to tell them what it was, what we were doing, introduce ourselves to them. So the pre-production of this had that added element of just trying to explain to the community who we were.
The big push for pre-production was really setting up the Kickstarter for this project. We had no idea what to expect. We put it out, and 2 days later we were fully funded, so that was like amazing.
Then it just became staffing.
It was hard for us to fill some positions.
And I specifically had to go and ask friends, colleagues, would they come on in this position? And the number one response I got from several people was, well, I've just never been a department head before. And I kind of said, that's the point. Then organizing the amateurs, because that was another important element, not only to have the professionals all fully crewed up and running a professional set, then each department got an amateur added to it who was job shadowing and trying to learn what it's like. So our set was much bigger than it needed to be. I did hold a class on set etiquette for all of our amateurs who'd never been on a set before, which I think was really helpful. And a nice sort of cohesive little meeting for everybody to sort of get to know each other before we went on set.
The first day on set was a little nerve-wracking to begin with. You know, the start of it was like, oh my gosh. It was at my house. There was 60 people in there. I'm like, holy cow. How is this gonna work? And you know, like quickly it just like smoothed out.
I think I was really excited about getting to just DP something, like really actually get to take on something myself and have equipment to do it, because things that I've done before have all been like documentary based or just like me and my friends, and I just had a camera, I didn't have lights. And so it was nice to finally get to have a department and have toys and really get to like put myself to the test. And because this project was, not that it was no pressure, but it wasn't like we were trying to make money off of it or I was doing it for someone else. I mean, we were doing it for each other. And so it was kind of like we all got to make mistakes.
I felt a little nervous at first because now all these new people, all these new faces, but like about 10 minutes into starting working, it's like, okay, it's go time. Let's go, let's do it.
Yesterday morning when we first started shooting, I was such a duckling to Jennifer. I was such a, I'm gonna literally be behind you like the entire time because I'm scared.
I was very nervous when I first started just because this was an entirely new experience to me. I've learned a lot. I mean, she's very good at like making sure I understand everything. It's been a lot of fun, very educational. You kind of do a bunch of problem solving, like, okay, how can I fix this weird little spot of light that is in the shot that shouldn't be?
Learned how to use a walkie, which was like awesome.
My favorite thing that I've learned, at least today, was probably the tattoo cover-ups. That was the first time I'd ever seen that done before.
I'm comfortable on set. Are you comfortable on set?
Yeah, I've grown to be very comfortable.
There's a feeling of camaraderie, and of course, because it's a project that's close to so many people's hearts, I think there's a sense of anticipation and promise that we can make a little bit of change with the project.
I love working on the set. It's really fun. I really think it's beautiful that I've worked on a couple sets before where when they say quiet on the set, no one's quiet, but here, working with all these women especially, it was just amazing. Everyone was like silent.
Quiet on set, please.
I mean, I saw a lot more people just like talking to people they hadn't talked to before.
I just sat at a random table with somebody I didn't know, and I was like, hi, I need a scene and sit next to you, okay?
The whole vibe of the whole set was just kind of different. I felt like it was very relaxed, especially because it was a learning set. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to, if you messed up on something, like no one's gonna be yelling at you. You know, it was definitely an environment where you can learn and teach.
My mentee, I really appreciated working with her. She had some really awesome projects that she was doing herself and asked for some advice on them. I really appreciated that she trusted what I had to say, because sometimes I don't trust what I have to say. In the beginning, I think she was just observing, and by the end it was more, well, how do you do this, or how would you approach this? Got to like the right questions that you were really gonna learn something from.
We had such a great time, and she, like, I mean, I don't know if I consider her amateur because she helped so much, and she's such a fast learner, and she helped me learn things. You know, it was definitely a good relationship, and we had just a little good team going on.
I guess I've never been in that much of a position where like people looked up to me before. I had to like take a step back for a second. Mainly like when I was out on the street and we were doing the march scene, and I was standing there holding the camera, like I just felt like I have power and control in this situation, and people are like looking to me like, oh, this is cool. Like it's cool to see a woman holding a camera.
It was a great opportunity. I mean, that's what it means to me. I mean, it provided exposure and experience to people who may not get it otherwise.
Biggest success of the entire project was these women realizing they could do it. You know, the whole thing I said about department heads, you know, these people who'd never been department heads before going, that wasn't scary, I could do that again.
I don't think it's as important to point out the fact that women have less jobs in the industry, but it's really important to point out that they have less opportunities. Because when you have equal opportunity, you should have equal employment. And I don't think that you should put a woman in a position they're not ready for just because they're a woman, but I think you should, make sure that the women have equal access to these opportunities. And if that means a project like this where we are excluding men because there has been a gap in those opportunities, then that is what it is. And I think it was really important that we did that.
I hope that when people come and see this film and watch the documentary and understand the process of where I stand, I hope they're able to, as a woman, feel a sense of pride in our capabilities and how strong we are when we do stand together. I think that's an important part of this. And for anyone who watches the film to see what can come out of a group of people, no matter who they are, wanting to come together and create something that's important. That don't be afraid to use your voice for whatever it is that you're passionate about. You can make an impact, and I think we have, and I hope that resonates with our community.
Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the film and the documentary. Now I'm going to hand the reins over to the wonderful Nike Imoru, who will moderate our quick Q&A tonight.
Thank you, Rebecca, and congratulations to Swift and Thundering Kittens. You know, what a remarkable thing to premiere the work and right before the Women's March, which is tomorrow, right? It's a great piece, inspiring, empowering. I enjoyed it more, I think, the second time as well. So what I'd love to do is just get a sense of perspective from you all. And then we'd really love to hear questions from our viewers about any aspect of the work or any aspect of what they saw as well. So could you begin by just introducing yourselves, the role you played in the project. I want to throw one more thing in, which is, why was it important for you as a filmmaker to do this project? So your name, your role, why was this project important to you back then? I'm going to start with you, Rebecca.
So I'm Rebecca Cook. Well, I'll say I'm the one who started this whole process and was privileged enough to be a producer and director. And it was important to me, like I said in the documentary, there are just so many women who haven't had the opportunity to be a lead, to participate in such a way. And I really wanted our community to have that opportunity.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And do you feel, was there a great sense of satisfaction once you, I don't know, maybe perhaps on the set or once it was done? Was there a particular moment where you felt a massive yes?
Oh my gosh, that first day when everyone was there and I wasn't, having to tell every single person what to do. Things were just happening. Mm-hmm. And it was, it's ridiculous how many times I've cried throughout the process of this. I cried just watching it again and seeing everyone's comments.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's a lot of joy.
And MJ, hi. You're muted right now. There you go.
Hi.
Hi. So do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role and what inspired you?
Okay. I'm Mary Jane Honiger, and when I heard about the contest, I was excited to write about something for a women-only crew, and something that had to do with, is the sound okay?
The Facebook, yeah, you want to, and then come back on. Thank you.
Technology.
While she's doing that, we'll come back to you, MJ. Why don't I go to Jennifer, and then we'll come back to you. We'll circle back. Thanks so much. Jay?
Thank you. Thank you for moderating this, Nike, and thanks to everybody who's watching. I got to produce this. I got to just be in that role, which was really exciting. And I learned so much. And I think that's probably a thing you'll hear all through this Q&A is how much we all learned, and we're still learning. So I think, that's really what brought me to this is what could I do to provide assistance? How could I help? And providing that opportunity for other women to learn and to learn. I think probably the biggest piece for me was the amateurs who were able to come in and just observe and ask questions and find places that they might fit in the future. So that was what's most important to me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Great. Maddie, hi.
Oops. Hi, I'm Maddie Cattle, and I was the director of the EPK film, the Behind the Lens. And for me, the most important part of working on that project was showcasing how few women get to work in these positions, these major positions like cinematographer, director, things like that, but also showing how we can improve that and how these mentor programs really help and how we can all support each other to get those opportunities.
Are you focused on the documentary, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, very good. We'll come back to you and talk a little bit about that later. Alex, welcome.
Hello. So my name's Alex Saucier. I was the DP, and I think this project to me was just so exciting. I love holding a camera and operating, and the idea that I got to pretty much design, the lighting in a lot of the shots for one of the first times in my life was so exciting. And I had a crew to work under me. And they were all amazing. And just the environment working in was so wonderful. I have to say, I'm working on a movie right now with very hostile environment. And so I'm extra appreciative just of how caring we were for each other. And looking out for each other and not having egos about our positions. That was just a really a blessing to get to experience.
Thanks, Alex, and we're holding space for you as you, wherever it is you are working at the moment. Thanks for being here. Great. And MJ, would you like to unmute and chat to us?
I think I have it now.
Fabulous. Tell us what role you played in this, MJ.
Well, I received a invitation to a contest to write a short screenplay from Rebecca, who I'd worked on a project with before. And so I wrote the screenplay. And when I heard it was for a all-women crew, I thought that was exciting and so I thought women's empowerment is what it had to be about. And so that kind of is what got me started on it.
Great. And what inspired you to write this particular story?
Well, two things. First of all, for the first time in my life, I walked in a demonstration, in a protest. I joined the Women's March in 2017, and it was very impactful to me. I really, I felt, I've always liked the camaraderie with women, but I felt an empowerment with women. And so there was one woman, I raised 3 sons, I don't have a daughter, and one woman was pushing a baby and a little boy in a stroller, and she carried a sign that said, "Boys will be," and she marked out the word boys and wrote the word kind. That's the kind of world I want to live in. And so I was totally inspired by the women at the Women's March. And I had written a program about Helga Espy, who's a woman from Spokane who walked to New York City from Spokane in the late 1800s in order to get some money to save her family farm. And I was learning about her online, and I found that a woman in Western Washington had written a song about Helga. And so I wrote to Linda Allen and asked her if I could buy her a CD. And she sent it to me. And when I listened to this song about Helga, she had a song on there called "Where I Stand." And again, having no daughters, but I have a granddaughter. And I thought, how important to let the next generation know who you are and what you stand for.
So inspiring, and I was very struck by the intergenerational aspect in the story where you had the grandmother, the mother, and then the granddaughter. And I think historically that's so important, isn't it? It's how we inspire the next generation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, and congratulations. Is that your first screenplay?
No, I had written another one that
that's right.
Rebecca worked on with me, and through an organization in Idaho called Knives. And so we worked on one together.
And so when can we look forward to your next script? Anytime soon, do you think?
Yeah, I've written a full-length feature, and so kind of still working on trying to get it out. But yeah, I think the shorts are fun too, though. So
yeah, fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good stuff. And the questions are coming in. One of the first ones, a question from Matthew Weaver. How can we show our support for future projects? And I'm going to assume that he means future all-female projects. Jennifer, how can people in the community, in the wider community, register their support, show their support for other projects?
Well, I think in general, supporting women in film, I think it's beyond just another all-female project. I think it's, if you work in the industry, it's identifying people who have strengths in their field and giving them an opportunity. So I think that's probably the bigger thing. And then I think obviously, I mean, we had our Kickstarter and it got funded in a very short amount of time. So I think that if there's another project that's all female and there's a push for donations, it's like you can put your money where your mouth is. There's one way.
Yeah.
But then also just, if you know somebody who works in the industry, give them a shout out. Just say, hey, I know you work hard. Recognize them. I think that's a great way to show support.
Great, thank you so much. Rebecca, I've got a question for you, just a general question. I know you've obviously directed pieces before, but what was it like directing an all-female crew and also knowing that there was a strong educational component? So you guys couldn't just disappear into the work because you were bringing people with you. What was that like for you?
I found that incredibly exciting. I think I'm a teacher by nature, whether I want to admit it or not. So I do better when I feel like I'm bringing everyone around me, when we're all rising up together, if that makes sense. And the feeling, I don't know, this set had a feeling like none other I've been on before. And I know that as the director, first and foremost, it's important for me to set the tone. And so I had to come in, no matter how, nervous and freaked out I was about managing this massive project. I needed to be the eye of the storm, if you will, and be clear in my vision and understanding of, if something wasn't working, we would drop back and punt and figure it out. But I will say there was such an ease to this set. People just work together so easily. If there was conflict, I quite honestly do not know about it. So maybe they just did a really good job of sheltering me, and that's what it was.
I'm curious then, let's play what if and imagine that you're on one of our normal sets, one of our, working together. And by the way, I've always loved working with all of you. What element would you bring, and let's say you were directing, what element would you bring that you think was critical to maintaining a healthy atmosphere?
Respect. I mean, bringing everyone onto this project in the way I did and letting them know that I trusted them to be in the jobs that they were in, I think really set them up to be successful. And then continuing to rely on them and ask for their support and their input, and showing them the respect of the positions they had, I think to me is the most important element there.
We don't always get that on the bigger film sets, do we?
No, not always.
Maddie, I loved the documentary. I thought it was great. What was it like shifting from features to doc and the position you had?
Thanks, first of all.
Yeah.
It was really, I guess it was really nice because I was working with a very small crew of people I trusted, and we just got to capture these very intimate moments of people learning and being comfortable with their mistakes, and like getting to see that job shadowing aspect was
amazing because people were coming in on day one and the mentees were kind of nervous, and then by day two they were just owning their position and they were just asking questions right up front, and it was really exciting. It was a pretty to circle back, it was an interesting transition, but one that was easy.
What was interesting about it specifically?
Specifically creating the storyline of the documentary, because I sat there with my editor and we looked at the footage and we just kind of had a moment of like, which story should we tell? What should we highlight? And really it was the interviews that led that discussion, which was, it's so fun because coming from feature films or even short films, you got your story like first thing, that's the first thing you have. And with a documentary, that's something you want, you know, before you come into it. But it was really fun creating that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, really nice work. I loved some of the shots there. They were great. They were really good. Thank you. And Alex, gosh, I listened to you. It's great to see you with a camera and your own crew, and obviously in your element as a cinematographer. And I'd heard rumors about, you know, how extraordinary you are with the camera, so it was great to actually witness it. And you made that comment about the importance of opportunity versus just having equality. I thought that was so wise. Have you tried to get work as a DP elsewhere as a cinematographer? Have you run up against problems trying to get access?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, one of the problems I see, like especially on crews, is with the camera department, the grip department, and the electric department. Those are typically almost always just all men. The camera department is starting to shift. But the problem with how that works is the DP is usually the one that hires their department down. And usually they hire people that they've worked with before, they're friends. And so usually that DP that hires is a male, and then they hire down the line. And it's not like they're intentionally being discriminatory. It's just kind of how it ends up going. I was able to work as a second AC on a few movies, but it was only because the DP was my boyfriend at the time, and he kind of made the first hire me. I've sort of stepped out of that world since then. I love working with the camera and I want to continue doing projects, but I think for my professional career going forward, producing is more along the lines of, I think, the way that my brain works. I love being creative, and so I want to be a creative producer. But just as far as the camera department itself, I think I've started to kind of move away from that. But at the same time, I always really want to encourage women to get into those departments, because I think it creates such a different dynamic on a set when you really have a balance, not just across the board with the crew, but within the departments, because it's so jaded where like the wardrobe and makeup and hair department will have a bunch of women, and then the more technical departments will have men, and so it looks like the crew is balanced, but it's really not. And as a woman, when I wanted to get into being a camera, you know, the women that are in those roles are really highly looked up to because there are so few of them. It was like a fear of mine that people, because I was a woman holding something technical, that they were going to think I didn't know what I was doing. So I really want to encourage people as much as possible, women as much as possible, to try as much as they can to get those opportunities, because we're equally as worthy.
Absolutely, and there's that thing, a phrase everyone's using now about unconscious bias. So when you're the head of a department, you hire people you know, and you don't think outside of that bias. It's sort of, you know, I sort of hope that someone will offer the opportunity to be a DP, even as I know you're veering out. But it begs the question, doesn't it? If someone had given you a chance earlier, if you were a mentee, where might you be now? Yeah, in terms of that dream. I'm going to take some more questions here. One from Miranda Sherrill. What type of work have you guys done since the filming of the short film? Jennifer, And maybe, yeah, I'll go to Rebecca afterwards.
Well, let's see. We did this in 2018. So as soon as we finished this, we finished our last season of Z Nation. So my role in that was the production office coordinator for season 5. And then after that, that was the end of, of the run of Z Nation. So we were all kind of wondering what we were going to be doing. And I had the pleasure of ADing, second assistant directing, a film called Home Sweet Home that we shot in Spokane. And then we got to shoot All Those Small Things. And I was able to be the second assistant director on that project as well. And then now, just in the last month, I've been hired as a producer for Hamilton Studio in Spokane. So I'm able to do some work now, which is unusual, I think, in our industry as a rule right now. So I'm really grateful to have that opportunity right now. And just hoping and praying that we'll be able to get back to narrative storytelling in Spokane next year. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, you've been busy. I know you've stayed busy. Super stuff. And Rebecca, what have you been doing since?
I worked on all of the projects Jennifer mentioned, I think, except I don't work at Hamilton Studio. And I actually was on Z Nation, I was an assistant accountant in charge of payroll. And then on the other films, I was the lead accountant on those. So, the super creative stuff. But personally, I never missed the 50-hour slam. And this year, as we were doing it in COVID, was one of the biggest challenges I've had in a long time, but I loved it. We did it entirely through Zoom. So that was kind of fun and creative. But really a lot of my work has been, I'm now the vice president of IATSE Local 488, which is the film crews union of the Pacific Northwest. I'm the president of Spokane Film Project, which is a nonprofit sort of networking and educational organization. And I was recently appointed to the board of Washington Filmworks. So I'm doing a lot on the administrative end of our film world to try and, well, in some aspects, just keep people afloat during COVID and navigating unemployment and all that fun stuff. But also trying to, lay out the path for what comes next and create opportunities in this sort of dark time of work for things we can do. Jennifer and I actually collaborated on a project for Spokane Film Project called Connecting in Chaos, where we ask members who are writers to submit scripts, and then we take members who are actors, and Jennifer brilliantly cast them, and we just do table reads every week of these new works, and it sort of keeps everyone's muscles flexed, if you will. And we're actually going to do a live one for the public on November 1st. I did not mean to make this a promotion for that, but look for the details soon.
Right, brilliant. That's great. It's struck again by the crossovers. I sort of thought, Jennifer, you were starting to move into producing and all this stuff that Rebecca's doing at an administrative level. So I want to know what you're all doing, what you've all done since 2018. Maddie, you're up. What have you been doing?
So I also was working on Z Nation as the office production assistant, and I worked on Home Sweet Home and All Those Small Things as well as the office production assistant. And then recently I just became the administrative associate at Community Minded Television here in Spokane, which is very exciting.
Really exciting, thrilling.
And honestly, I've just been having a lot of fun working with them on all these projects, and we've been doing a lot of live productions, which is something I haven't been a part of before. So that's been very fun learning that. And then just 1 or 2 small short films that we shot, like for the 50-hour slam as well.
That's great. Fantastic. Yeah. Alex, and I do have some questions coming in. I'm going to get to all of them, but I'm just so struck by the range of talents of these women here and the abilities. So I think we should showcase them. Alex, what have you been up to since 2018?
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much worked on all those projects mentioned as a assistant production office coordinator under Jennifer, and then on those movies as a production coordinator. But then I was also bouncing back and forth, and I was being a second AC on different productions, a second assistant camera on different productions in Louisiana. I did a film that I'm really excited about called Gossamer Folds. It's actually out if any of you are curious. And currently, well, then I had the whole pandemic. I was doing a YouTube video for a guy racing rubber ducks, which was just a whole thing. But now I finally have a job. Working on a movie in Montana right now. To be honest, this 45 minutes is the longest break I've had in 2 weeks. I am not kidding. I've been working 16 days, 7 days a week. It's insane, but I'm so happy to be working. I'm the production coordinator, and there's 5 movies happening in Montana right now, I should mention. So work is starting to come back, just unfortunately not yet in Spokane. But.
As long as it's safe, I don't care how much comes back or how little comes back, as long as it's safe. And so you be sure to say safe. Very good. Pleased to see that. Mary, thank you. Good to see you. You're tested 3 times a week, did you say?
3 times a week. I
3
have
times a week.
shoved up my nose. It's great.
Yeah, fun. Mary Jane, what have you been doing since 2018 when this was made? You're muted. You're muted.
I already explained to you guys about having someone of a different generation in on all this technical. You'll have to forgive me, but somebody reminded me it's a learning situation, so that's
right.
That's what I'm doing.
That's right. That's okay.
But I haven't really done too much except work on a feature length screenplay that I wrote, and. But the thing is, I have been so thrilled to be part of this project and other projects. I tell everybody I know that it's the saddest thing in my life that I didn't discover this, well, just being a part of movie making and film until this age, because I absolutely love it. I love the creativity. I love the people. I just love everything about it. The action. When you talk about 16-hour days, I've worked on a couple of films just as a gopher now, and I absolutely love it. I can stay up for hours. Normally I go to bed at 9, but when I'm, working there, so I just know this is a wonderful group of women, and it's a wonderful just a creative outlet for people that I don't know. I just wish I had found it a long time ago, and the movie making industry is difficult for women to get into. I hear that part of it, but I think these guys are also wonderful. They'll go a long ways.
I agree. I agree. That's why I try to keep as many of them on my team as possible. Let's take some more questions here. Frank Hayes asks, has the film been entered into any film festivals? And I'm just going to, whoever unmutes first to give that answer. There she is.
She's nice to meet you. No, it has not been entered into any festivals yet. Quite frankly, the post-production on this has been an adventure, and we just finished it. As soon as we finished it, we announced we were premiering it. So there hasn't been time to enter it into any festivals. And in fact, Alex, Jennifer, and I are going to have a conversation later tonight about that future, or if we just release it and let the world enjoy it as it is. So feel free to leave a comment what you think we should do with it.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. And from Tory Bird, are there any projects that Swift or any of the directors, DP writers are wanting to make in the future? So just wanting to know, any plans for the future in terms of filmmaking, any of you? Stories that you want to tell? Sets that you want to work on? Any thoughts?
I'll just step in real quick, but I've, for the last year, been writing a TV show about climate change. I won't go into it too much, but I really want to start working on projects that aren't just entertaining, but are things that I'm passionate about and things that make a difference in the world. So telling like real stories. I mean, this project was a real story talking about, the importance of women, and that's kind of what I want to do moving forward, and bringing women into that is a great thing.
How's that going? Have you written multiple episodes? How's the show going? You're writing it or developing it and writing?
Yeah, I'm mostly just developing it. I have basically over the last year, I've read almost 25 books about climate change, watched over 30 documentaries, taking notes, and then just building outlines for episodes. I'm not that great of a writer, so my actual intention is to have somebody else write it based off of my outlines and vision. But yeah.
That's inspiring. That's really inspiring, Alex. Yeah. Anyone else who's got a project going? Who wants to share something they've got going? Rebecca?
Yeah, sorry. I was just answering a question in the chat and realized I was not muted and muted myself. So I'm doing a lot of audiobooks right now just to pay the bills and because I love sitting in a padded room talking to myself all day. But my dream has always been to direct films and get, paid for it. And my brand is really kind of a Hallmark channel with inclusion. So I'd love to be making some comfort food kind of movies for the holidays, but include storylines that include the world we live in, which is a rainbow colored world. But I did just hear Hallmark's making their first Christmas film with a gay couple. So yay.
Yeah, fantastic. Wonderful. Did you say comfort food? Did you say comfort food with rainbows? I don't know, sorry.
The comfort food movies in a world full of rainbows.
There we go. Thank you. Jennifer.
I think, the answer to Tori's question is yes. I think once once the passion of filmmaking bites you, you can't imagine doing anything else. So I think that we're all, excited to and have plans to work on something in the future. As far as, me personally, I'm kind of cutting my teeth in the producing world right now, more so with live events like Maddie was talking about and commercial, and it's a little bit, well, it's not a little bit, it's a lot different than narrative, which is my passion. So I can't wait to get back to narrative. But in the COVID time of absolute lockdown, shut down, stuck in a room, not leaving your house, my passion was to try to tell a story, documentary style of my partner's, life history. So I think that no matter what we're doing as filmmakers, we're always thinking about the next story, whatever it is.
That's great. Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Let's see now. Question from Robin. Since this project, have there been more of these crew members on sets locally? I'm assuming that Robin wants to know if perhaps the amateurs also went on to do other stuff. I mean, I know that we all did, you all did. Do you know if any of the amateurs actually went on to do other work on other sets?
I can say yes. I know I've had some of the amateurs have worked with me on projects.
Brilliant.
But yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of the amateurs got promoted, our editing amateur got promoted to doing all of our visual effects on the film. So thank you, Evie. She got promoted within the project.
That's brilliant. Really
So
wonderful.
I have a person to add into that group, and she didn't work as an amateur, but it was the first time that we, I think it's the first time that we all worked with her. Cheyenne, who was our assistant director, and Cheyenne just kind of blew me away on this set, and I recommended her as AD, second AD. for Z Nation, which she didn't get that job, but she became a production assistant on Z Nation, and she's ADing all kinds of stuff right now. She did some stuff in Seattle as an AD, which she blew them away too. So she's always working. So absolutely.
Yeah, Cheyenne was on our set. I thought she was stunning, focused, disciplined. So congratulations for helping to foster that, getting that going. Yeah.
Yeah. If I may, I actually should mention my directing amateur is directing her first feature right now. So
oh my
congratulations
goodness.
to Annie, which I think Cheyenne is ADing. So
that's fantastic, isn't it? When those crossovers start to happen and you start to really see the rewards of seeds that you planted 3 years ago, and here they are sprouting magnificently. We've got a couple of minutes left. I'd love you all to think about something. I know that, again, I just want to say that the Women's March is coming tomorrow. What a fantastic time for this show to premiere. I know what it takes to produce, create, direct, take a show into post, get it out into the world. And you need to be commended for it, truly. Thank you for making that happen. And thank you for making it visible to the world, the globe. Closing comments, just briefly. What do you want to say to people that are listening that might be thinking, oh my goodness, I want to do this, or
I'll go.
Yeah.
This has been one of the most important projects of my entire life. And it all started with, sitting around going, why aren't there more women here? And it became an idea, and I talked to some friends about it, and they came on board to support it. So Jennifer and Alex and I come from different visions of film, but because of that, I think we made a really strong team to create something like this. And so for me, whether I'm working in theater or in film, one of the most important things is to surround yourself with good people, listen to them, respect them, appreciate them, and you can make magic.
Respect. Yep, I keep hearing that from you, Rebecca, and surrounding yourself with good people. That's wonderful. Thank you. Maddie.
I'd say don't be afraid to learn. Go ahead, get a couple friends, go out there and make something. That's the best way to learn. And don't be afraid to try something new.
Try, don't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fail forward. Yeah, excellent. Mary Jane, thank you.
The wrong one.
There you go.
There you go. Yes, all I'd like to say is the importance of what the movie was about, which is passing on what you believe in. And I just think it's important that everybody votes.
Fantastic. I heard it. Vote. Right there. Thank you so much. Yeah. And congratulations again on your script.
Thank you so much.
And for mastering technology like a genius.
I'm trying.
You're doing great. Thank you. Alex.
Yeah, I would just say to people, I guess, that want to get into the industry, working in film isn't a career, it's a life. It's everything. And the people that really work in it and stick to it, they do it because they love it and they can't imagine not doing it. So when you work in film, it's amazing because you're working with people that love their jobs. And even though, like I said, I've been working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I want to pull all my hair out because it's already falling out, I love it. And I love it so much. And we all do. We all love it. We love working with passionate people and getting to create something so amazing. And so, just know getting into it that that's what it's going to be. But if you love it, it's going to work out.
Yeah, passionate professionals. Yeah, great job. So this is your first lunch break in like 2 weeks. We need to do another Zoom with the public or something just to give you a lunch break. Yeah, okay, just text me, I'll take care of that. Jennifer.
I think what I would like to say is if you want to do this, do it. like Maddie said, you know, if you want to do something, just get out there and do it. Take your friends, write a short script, you know, get out there, use your iPhone. iPhones are great cameras today. Just do something. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, we have a community here, and everyone's willing to help. Even if it's just give you advice, even if it's just be a sounding board. Somebody has a question. I know Rebecca is like probably the best resource in our community. It doesn't matter what the question is, she'll have either have the answer or know who to get you to get the answer. And then, you know, just don't be open to learning and be open to new opportunities and be eager, and just don't quit.
That's right. That's right. Don't quit. Thank you so much. That's all we have time for this evening. And thank you, Alvin, who's been our technical wizard there, helping us out. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. What an honor to be able to moderate this. Such a pleasure to see you all. And I look forward to seeing you on sets around our communities hopefully very soon. Take care, and thank you to our wonderful audience for tuning in. The questions were fantastic, and take care, everyone.